Now, whether you agree or disagree with the United States peace deal, former Israeli Prime Minister Olmert is claiming that Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas is the only real partner in Middle East peace. Well, joining us to discuss his claim is columnist for Newsweek and editor of HistoryCentral.com, Marc Schulman. So the question is Abbas a true partner for peace?
Okay, let's look at it this way. The question is, do we have anyone else? And no one knows of anybody else at the moment. Abbas is very similar to Netanyahu. He made sure he had no successors clearly waiting in the wings, and there is no clear successor to Abbas. But he's 82 years old. He only controls half of the Palestinians, obviously. He doesn't control Hamas and Gaza. And number three, despite what Olmert said, the real problem with Abbas was that he wasn't willing to make the final compromises that were necessary to reach peace in 2008. It wasn't over territory. Territory is not really the issue here.
Well, and he was given most of the territory that he asked for.
I'm saying, but that's not really been the issue. The issue is twofold. One is the question of refugees. The Palestinians have not once been able to publicly say that the refugees are not coming back to Israel. They can't tell those people who have keys to their homes in Jaffa, who are still dreaming of their great-grandparents' home in Jaffa, that they're never going to see their home in Jaffa. That's never going to happen. Maybe a symbolic 10,000 come back or something like that, but the refugees are not returning to Israel. They may come back to the Palestinian state or they need to be resettled. No Palestinian leader has been able to say, no, that's not going to happen. Number two, he wasn't willing to say that whatever we decide is the total end of conflict, there'll be no further claims. Those are two things that have to be said, and that Israel's a Jewish state, just as the United Nations partition plan said it would be a Jewish state and a Palestinian or an Arab state. And that's the words of the partition plan. Abbas was never willing to go there. You know, I have an acquaintance in Washington, Hussein Bish, who's a think tank person at the Brookings and those sort of places. And he wrote an article in New Nation about a week ago and said to Abbas, listen, if you want to stop the Trump plan, you have to make some real compromises. You need to come to New York and say what I just said, either that the refugees are never coming back, or accept the idea that they're going to be some Jewish settlements.
Make some sort of
we have to make some sort of concession. We have to move from where we've been all this time. If you do that, then maybe you can stop the Trump plan. Unfortunately, he didn't do it. I direct messaged my friend, and his response was, I asked, did he read it? He said he read it, but he wasn't convinced.
All right, well, so my question, and you touched on this a little bit, you said there are no real replacements for Abbas that we know of, but I mean, there's got to be some. Is there anybody in the Palestinian Authority that we know of who may be able to step into that?
Look, when he resigns or dies or whatever's going to happen, there'll obviously be someone who'll take his place. But there is no one at the moment with any sense of authority other than the people in Hamas, and that's part of the problem. And so, yes, he's the only person we can speak to because he is officially the leader. But at 82 years old, in not so great health, and the fact that he's not been willing to be flexible, he's not a real partner for coming to peace. And you know, it was a very nice statement to make, but it's not really going to happen, at least not with Abbas, I don't believe.
Why do you think that Olmert went about with this meeting?
Look, I think Olmert has been trying to redo his image. You know, he was in jail, he was a criminal, and he's come back on TV. People have interviewed him on all the political talk shows and everything else for his opinions. So this is part of trying to redo his image, and also trying to say that, you know, he's been making the claim all along that the reason he was convicted or he was investigated was because he wanted to make peace. So the right wing was after him because he was willing to make peace. So sort of the mirror image of Netanyahu in that sense. And so he's trying to rehabilitate himself to some extent, say, look, I could have made peace if you hadn't stopped me, if you hadn't decided to investigate me.
Short answer, you know, is Netanyahu correct in his assertion that Olmert is undermining the United States and Israel by coming out publicly and sitting with Abbas?
Slightly, but that's, you know, what does that mean he's undermining? You know, if Olmert had millions of supporters worldwide, then I would say something. But, you know, Olmert to some extent, because of who he is and the fact that he came out of jail, is a little bit of a joke on the world scene today, I'm afraid.
All right, thank you for joining us with this update.